You are listening to Creating Active Lives with me, Sarah Blytho, and my regular weekly guests, and we are all here to share the research, the science, and the strategies, as well as some of the fun, to help you to create a more active life. Hello and welcome to this episode of Creating Active Lives with me, Sarah Blytho, and my guest, Heather Locke. This is a bit of a passion of mine, so I do warn you all, I might get on my soapbox a bit, and I suspect Heather might too. Heather helps women over 40, but probably any age really, take back control of their health and happiness. And she understands that as we age, our bodies undergo many changes and challenges, and it's difficult to know where to start sometimes with fitness and nutrition, particularly if that's not something that's been part of your life before. Now, her approach is based on resistance training, as it is so important. And we've recorded an episode earlier about older adults and how important strength training is. But actually, it's important for women of all ages to be doing some sort of resistance training. And yeah, it can be quite intimidating. People can get very nervous about doing it, particularly if they've never done it before. I think there's the image of coming out of a session looking like Arnie or Charles Atlas, as somebody mentioned the other day, for those of you who are older. So we are going to talk a little bit about walking, about getting your steps in and things like that. But the focus today is very much on resistance training and why so many women resist it, because they do. So Heather, tell us a little bit about yourself and why resistance training is so important.
I've got a lapdog on my lap. She'll be much quieter if she stays on here, so apologies if she's getting in the camera. But yeah, I basically, I kind of always messed about with exercise and things growing up. My mum was really keen on taking me to acro aerobics and, bums and tums and legs, bums and tums sessions locally and things like that. But it wasn't until I had my daughter when I was 30 that I just got this rocket up my bottom of wanting to transform everything about myself. It was a real transition time. It's like, right, you need to be a really good role model for her, and, just pull your finger out and sort yourself out. So I got a personal trainer. I got an amazing transformation with my body, my mindset, just, my nutrition, everything just sort of slotted into place. And I was like, I absolutely love this. And why didn't anyone show me resistance training, and why it's important and what it does to your body? Why was no one telling me this before? So at 32, I retrained as a personal trainer, and yeah, 9 years on, I've really honed in on helping women. I think going through it yourself and being really unhappy with my body and how I looked and how I felt, and having all those struggles as well, it felt like really important to me to niche within that area of helping women. This is, I don't think there's many women out there that love their reflection, and if I can do things like help them with their nutrition and eating and make it feel simple and give them back that control, then that feels pretty good. So yeah, resistance training is just the best.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I love it, and I think so many women will lose weight. They will get themselves to a healthy weight, but still not be happy with their bodies.
Absolutely.
And a lot of that is it's not to do with the weight; it's to do with your body composition and having muscles in good condition.
Yeah.
Actually changes. Never mind weight; it changes the way your body looks. And I think one of the issues is the image that women have is of massive bodybuilders in the gym and all these big weights and grunting and huffing and puffing. And of course, resistance training, it's about some form of resistance, isn't it? Not just big, heavy weights. And I think this is where we need to educate, particularly women, about how they can build resistance training into their everyday life, what they can do that doesn't involve going to the gym, but more importantly, the benefits of it, why it's so important, not just aesthetically. So when we look in the mirror, we think, oh, nicely toned, but also for what's going on underneath, for what's, our functional ability and the anti-aging properties as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. I have never worked really. Well, I've worked a little bit in a gym environment, but I've always been more about being mobile and out and about. And since lockdown, just taken it fully online. So I haven't entered a gym for 4 years, and you just don't need to for resistance at all.
And I think that's a really big kind of myth that we need to explode, don't we? Is say, you do not need to go to the gym, but you do need to be using some form of resistance to really get those muscles in better shape.
Absolutely.
And yes, strength is part of it, but also endurance.
Yeah.
So you can do more. So what types of resistance do you use with people?
Yeah, so within my workouts, I use a kettlebell, which is really fun, and that does create the endurance. So gets your heart rate up, gets you puffing and panting, releases all those feel-good hormones that make you feel like, yeah, I'm really, really nailing this. But is really working the full body as well. So it's a fantastic tool to use. I love the kettlebell. And then we use things like resistant cables. So just really simple equipment. You don't need hardly any space at home to do things. But all those like dumbbells, bands, kettlebells, that is enough to really create that resistance. And even body weight is a really good tool. The only thing sometimes with the body weight, it can be sort of higher impact moves, which as we get older, we don't love jumping around quite so much. Not everyone, but so that's when the weights are really useful.
Yeah, but it's, for somebody starting off, something as simple as a resistance band, as you say, even body weight, things like squats, 2/3 of your body weight is actually in your upper body. So when you're squatting and raising up again, you are lifting, quite a lot of your body weight, press ups against the wall, press ups on the floor. So, it doesn't have to be expensive or difficult to get started. Things like kettlebells, things like dumbbells might well be the progression for you. But for a lot of people, just a simple resistance band or two is going to make a big difference to your workouts. And it means that it's quick, it's efficient, but more importantly, it's not intimidating.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's very effective, very effective. I teach courses using resistance bands, and I'm in pretty good shape. And even then, after a couple of hours of using the bands, I'm feeling it the next day. I mean, I'm not like, oh, this is agony, I can't move, but it's like, oh, yeah, I can feel I've worked my muscles.
It's a nice feeling.
And this is where it's so important. So, I mean, what are some of the benefits then that people will get from adding some sort of resistance training into their routine?
The obvious ones, which a lot of ladies are bothered about, not everyone, which is fine, is their change in their body shape. So not the weight. I really shy away, or I'm not a fan of the scales. So I really get women to start doing body measurements, tracking and things like that, so they can see those, like how their body is changing over time with the resistance training, and how it's very different, like we were saying earlier, to just doing the cardiovascular, like walking, cycling, swimming, where yes, you might be burning off some calories and losing some fat, but it kind of gets to a plateau where you have to then keep doing more and more and more, which is just something that is not healthy for us. So actually adds more stress. So this resistance boosts the metabolism. So the more muscle, so it's like men, I think this is a good example. Men, annoyingly, can eat far more than us. And when men decide to lose weight, they can just change a few things and all of a sudden they're shedding thousands of pounds, over a few weeks. It's like, what? This is so unfair. But it's purely because they have more muscle mass than us. And that's why if we can build our lean muscle up, and it's really lean, it doesn't bulk the body at all. It just pulls it all in tight. I think that's the best way of kind of visually looking at it. And then that boosts the metabolism so that, it's working all the time. It's burning calories after the workout, not just during the phase of your workout. So it's just so good for that side of things.
Yeah. That's it. And it's, as I said, for women to bulk up or to get muscles, it's actually really, really hard. It's so much to do with nutrition, training, so much. And most of us haven't got the muscular makeup, the mix of fibre types that you actually need to get big anyway. It is so hard. So, anybody who's ever done any of these kind of bodybuilding, female fitness competitions will tell you their lives revolve around it. There's no time for anything else. So if you're worried that by adding a bit of resistance in, you're going to sort of, be huge, you're not. It's really, really hard. If that's what you want, then you need to see a specialist because it's so hard. But this is where I think we need to be focusing on, like you say, moving away from the scales, looking much more at our body composition and how we are. And and I know women don't like looking in mirrors, because I think a lot of women look in the mirror almost to find fault, to criticise. We need to start looking in the mirror and thinking, gosh, actually, my arms are looking much more toned, my legs are looking much more toned. We need to start looking in the mirror and seeing the positive changes that doing resistance training brings about. Now, even if that means initially you look in the mirror and think, I'd like my arms to be more toned, I'd like my legs to be more toned. Don't be critical about your body. Look at the areas that you'd like to improve, and then work with somebody like Heather, and she does online stuff, to work on that, because actually it doesn't happen overnight, but you will gradually not only start to see the changes, you'll feel the changes, you'll be able to do so much more. You'll just notice you've got more energy. You'll notice that your weight management is better. And this is where I think, let's be a little bit kinder to ourselves, but also let's look in the mirror and look at the positive things, because we've all got things about us that are fabulous. And let's actually start noticing them, and the areas that aren't quite up to a 10 out of 10. Let's say, right, what can I do? Can I do tricep dips, curls? What can I do to improve my body shape? Because we all can, whatever age you are. It's so important, isn't it? So what would be your advice to somebody who's listening and thinks, gosh, actually, I need to start doing this, or I need to get my mum to start doing this, or me and my friends would like to start doing this. Where's a good place to start?
Yeah, so there's a wealth of workouts out there, and if you want to just get started at home and you want free workouts, you just can go on YouTube and try some out. I know even like on the smart TVs these days, they've got quite often they've got a special channel for workouts, and there's lots of beginner workouts on there. So honestly, there is so much out there just to give it a go and just get moving. I mean, sometimes there's too much information out there these days, so it's a bit overwhelming.
Isn't it? Or contact Heather. All our links will be in there. But another thing that people think, again, is this perception that exercise takes a lot of time. So how much should we be doing when it comes to resistance training as women of all ages?
Yeah. So the science sort of backed out there is that adding just 2 weight training sessions a week can reduce your body fat by 7%, which is a nice statistic. Not to mention all the other health benefits like your metabolism increased, bone density maintained, which is really essential. But yeah, I practice little and often consistency, which you're just chipping away at it every day and working certain muscle groups so that you can kind of really work that area. And 20 minutes is more than enough to see really fab results.
Yeah. And that would be a little bit of warming up.
Yeah.
A few moves, target a body part or lower body one day, upper body one day. And, you've still got time for a nice stretch at the end of it as well, which stretching is a part of strength, is having flexible muscles as well as strong ones. So, don't neglect the stretching. And again, I talked to Liz, my physio friend. She's one of the podcasts with the importance of stretching, and we're using our muscles all the time, and yet we only ever think about stretching them after a workout. And it's like, well, you've been sat in a chair for 8 hours a day. You need strong muscles to sit with good posture in a chair all day, but also you need to be stretching regularly in order to rebalance those muscles and things. And it's, like I say, it doesn't have to be going to the gym and being there. It can be simple things that you can do at home. And this is, you might decide, actually, I want more of this, and end up going to the gym or with a personal trainer. But you might find that there's plenty that you can do at home that's really, really going to help you. And it's you mentioned bone density, and this is something it's really, really important for men and women, but particularly women, is your peak bone density is around your mid-30s. So you need to be doing resistance training in your 20s, certainly, onwards, in order to build that bone density, because when you get to your mid-30s, it's kind of as good as it's going to get. And actually, when you're doing resistance training, because the muscle is pulling on the bone, it's providing a little bit of stress through the bone. So it isn't just bone loading movements like jumping, walking, and things like that. It is, the resistance training is acting as a kind of a positive stress, if you like, on the bones, and tells them, get stronger. We need you to be stronger in order to help us do this. So, it's a big benefit. You've also got the fact that when you're working your muscles, when you're strengthening muscles, blood flow going back to the heart from the lower body is improved, because those muscles are squeezing the good old blood back to the heart. So, it has benefits for the circulatory system as well. So, it's not like I'm going to strength train for my muscles. There's so much more to it. There are so many more benefits, aren't there? And of course, we talked about metabolism is muscle has a higher calorie requirement than fat. So the better your body composition, the easier it's going to be to maintain your weight. But these are the sort of messages I think we need to be getting across, rather than just do strength training. Do you think that there's a lack of there's a lot of information about what you should do and when and how important it is, but not necessarily why it's important? Do you think that's an issue?
It always pops into my mind when you talk about age for doing, the muscle mass decline. I always think about like my grandparents when they were sort of in their later years, and I just picture my granny just sat in a chair and quite frail and kind of given up, or not given up on life, but that was it. That's kind of how you would think your later years should be like. It really isn't.
You slow down.
Yeah, it's just not the case anymore. It's actually, okay, yes, maybe you need to slow down, but we actually still need to really keep our body, we need to look after it. It's like sitting down all day is not going to help. You're going to lose all your strength and energy, your metabolism, just all those things will slowly decline unless we're actually actively doing something about it. So I think these days, obviously we're living so much longer. I think women are getting more aware that they need to do more resistance. And okay, like you said, your muscles or you kind of peak at sort of 30. It's never too late to get started. Like I've had women come to me at 50, really unhappy with their weight and how they felt, and low energy and everything, just really down on themselves. And they tried the 20-minute workouts, and within a month, their body was already changing so much, and their energy levels, their how they felt so much happier, the metabolism sped up, they were eating better. It all just kind of went hand in hand.
It's a kind of knock-on effect, isn't it? And I often say, because people say, I want to improve my diet, I want to get fitter, I want to get stronger, and it's like focus on one at a time, because actually once you start to improve one and you notice how good you feel and how much better you feel, the other changes kind of happen organically.
It does, without you realising. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. And then suddenly you'll eat something that you used to eat and you haven't for a while, and you'll notice the impact it has on you, the negative impact, and that you feel sluggish, you feel less energetic, and you start to think, actually, it's almost like initially I think there's a conscious, do I really want to eat this because I know I'm going to feel bad afterwards? But after a while, it just becomes subconscious. You start to choose either very small portions of things like that, but generally your diet improves, you walk more, you relax more. And I don't mean like we're talking about, older people sit down and do nothing, but you actually do positive relaxation, which is an important part of any activity program, is proper relaxation, proper stillness and rest, because it really helps it helps your body to kind of work behind the scenes in making those improvements. And that's something I think is again, people think they've got to do something more all the time, but actually that's a massive
rest is important. Just causing more stress.
Yeah. And it's, there's a lot of research out there about benefits of exercise on mental health. And actually, a lot of it's focused on aerobic exercise, on cardiovascular exercise, walking, jogging, running, and things like that. But there is evidence coming through now about the benefits of resistance training. And we know that actually, I work in cancer rehab, and a lot of the research shows that resistance training on its own isn't necessarily good for anxiety and depression in people with cancer going through cancer treatments. But actually, the combination of cardiovascular and resistance training is an absolute winner. It's that all-round impact that's so important. So one of the things we did mention a bit earlier was sort of walking and steps. And again, how many steps a day? We all get fixed on this 10,000 steps a day. But actually, it's not quite like that. It's not quite as fixed as that, is it? And 10,000 steps a day for a lot of people is just not.
No, they just don't have the physical time. I mean, so I do around that amount, but it's not something that I feel I have to. So, for instance, that takes quite a lot of my day, but luckily I have the time to do it. So the dog walk is about an hour and 10, 20, and I walk really fast, and that doesn't get me up to 10,000 steps. So people that are working 9 to 5 and going out all day, doing then, at least an hour's walk, but more to get your steps in is just probably, very tricky. So I think that the thing around steps is just the general movement throughout the day is more important. So if you are eating meals and things, get moving in between, like after the eating stuff. It just opens up like all the floodgates of us to utilize those calories much, much better. So it's really good at preventing diabetes too. And so,
better for digestion as well to move after you.
Yeah, exactly. It just keeps everything working much, much better. So like if someone's sedentary or in a sedentary role, which a lot of people are these days working in offices, they need to make sure that throughout the day they're just having little breaks where they're moving around. If they've got a lunch break, pop out for a quick 10, 20-minute walk. All those little bits add up so much over the week. And then, on your time off, go book in a nice, a nice long walk, get out in the countryside, because I think getting outside is a big one as well of, so good for our mental health.
Hands up listening if you've heard me talk about getting outside into nature.
I love it.
But it's ironic. I always used to think it was really ironic when they first started talking about steps, because people working in offices often, it's particularly with technology now, we email people, whereas before you'd have to go and walk and go and see somebody. But I used to think it's ironic that smokers probably have more steps because they're physically leaving the building and going outside several times a day, whereas those who don't smoke aren't. And it's just like, don't smoke. I'm not saying smoke, people, please don't do that, but think about that sort of pattern. Every hour, get up and move, walk around, get your steps in, because I think, they're now saying that realistically between 6,000 and 8,000 is probably going to be as beneficial. And actually, if you meet the guidelines of 150 minutes a week of cardiovascular activity, you're probably going to hit around 8,000 a day. But that's, a minimum of 20 minutes and moving around during the day. So every hour, if you've got any kind of activity tracker or watch or anything like that, it probably nudges you at 10 to the hour to stand up and move. But think, right, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to get 500 steps in just by walking around the block or something like that. Because, it's good for your muscles to be out walking and moving like that, but also it's rounding out the sort of activity that you do, because we need to move, we need to be strong, we need to have flexibility. So it's building all of that in however it works for you, I think is so important. Walking meetings, if there's 2 or 3 of you and you need a meeting and you're actually in an office, go for a walk.
Great idea.
Because 2 birds with 1 stone, walk to see somebody instead of sending an email or a text or something like that. And really, look at little ways that you can build activity in, go for a walk, do 5 press-ups against a tree, or sit on a park bench and do 5 squats on a park bench or something. Or it's, once you I don't know if you find this, but I find once you actually start to be more active, once you start to get fitter, once your muscles, your
Yeah,
heart, your lungs, everything's
just
in better
want more
shape,
of it.
you start to look
Yeah,
for
yeah,
opportunities to be active,
yeah, you
don't you?
do. It feels
Yeah,
also like, when you're sort of sat around doing nothing, I know myself that if I've had a really lazy day, all I can think about is wanting to eat not good foods, like very carbohydrate type
yeah,
foods, sugary foods, all those ones that give you that instant sort of pick you up energy boost. So actually just kind of moving around at that afternoon time, which can be really tricky in the office, actually then getting up, having a glass of water, getting and moving and things, actually that will really help to curb that sort of comfort eating.
yeah. It is, and it's for me. I'll always say, particularly people, but I really like these foods, and I really so fine. But make your main meal
Yeah,
healthy and then have a much smaller amount afterwards if you still want it.
exactly. Yeah,
Quite often, if you've got the balance of your meal right, actually your body's not kind of saying, "Oh, I need a bit more
yeah,
energy," because you've got that balance. You've got that
yeah,
satiety going on, which means that you don't. Your
yeah.
body instinctively says, "No, I don't
Which
need that."
people don't believe, but
And
it's so true. And like with my clients as well, like I get them to eat 3 really good meals, right balance, and they're like, "Oh my God, you've cured my evening munching on the sofa." I honestly thought, it was never, I was never going to get like break free of it, but just changing those 3 meals just completely stop them needing that.
it's giving your body what it
Yeah,
needs, isn't it? And when you do, it's kind of like, I don't need any more.
yeah,
It's
feels
it's
happy.
it's it's
Yeah,
full, and putting the right
yeah,
fuels in, and it again, I think this is something that that it doesn't necessarily happen overnight. But I meal prep. I have
I'll
my
do you.
meals
I'm
prepped.
terrible.
I'll make big batch of soup, big batch of soup that's enough for the week. I have my breakfast that's enough for the week. And it means I haven't got, I mean, I'm terrible about decisions. If you sit me down and say, what do you want? It's like, oh God, I don't know. What do I feel like? Whereas if it's
Yeah,
there, then
yeah,
we eat
great.
it. There's no decision making. It's lunchtime, heat it up, eat it, job done. Same with the, evening meals. I'll cook something and I'll make enough for 3 meals. So I'll freeze one and then I'll say have the one on the Monday and the Wednesday, and then the Tuesday meal
Something
will be
different.
Tuesday and
Yeah.
Thursday. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
eat the same thing every
No, I
single day,
couldn't
but
do that.
for me, it it takes away the kind of munching while you're thinking about what to eat, which is another thing, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
Yeah. And nutrition is important, isn't it, in our body
yeah. So,
composition? I mean, I know
yeah,
nutrition is something you talk about as
yeah,
well.
like,
So why is
yeah,
good
sorry.
nutrition?
Go on.
I was, I was going to say, why is good nutrition so important when we are looking at improving our body
Yeah,
composition?
sure. So,
And I don't mean perfect
no,
nutrition,
no,
I mean good.
absolutely. God, I am all for people enjoying themselves, and making sure that they can still have their meals out and, and have family meals as well, which often look like kind of, sausage mash and veg, something like that. But it's all about just finding the balance around it and making sure there's lots of lovely lean protein. So we're talking chickens, chicken, so fish, oily fish, beef, all those things, even tofu and legumes and lentils,
Yeah.
and dairy. There's loads of protein out there, and making sure that we're getting a good portion of that for each meal as well is really important. And then the other thing which we really need to get better at doing, because a lot of people their plates will look very beige with kind of a lot of
Mm,
sandwiches are getting munched because it's just such an easy go-to. Um, and again, that's not something to not include, but it needs to have more of a balance about it. So if you're thinking about a plate, you need to have lots of different salad, lots of different vegetables. It should look really colourful and enjoyable,
yeah.
which which actually is really good for our brains as well. So if you're looking at a colourful plate, it's going to satisfy you so much more. So making sure that you've got 2 or 3 veg or salads on your plate, at each meal, some fruits, and then getting that lean protein and the good fats. And people find that they aren't then relying on the bread sauce and all that on kind of, sugary breakfasts and things like
Yeah.
that. Like that, they don't miss it either. It's not like they're completely cutting it out. It certainly still gets enjoyed, but you just, the energy and everything, the digestive system, the bloating, everything, just improves. And you've got to get that protein in order to see the muscle strengthening up.
This is it. Protein is the main role of protein in the body is growth and repair. And this is where, if you are looking at resistance training, if you're looking at what a lot of women will call tone in their bodies, but having a better tone to all your muscles and things like that, this is where good quality protein is so important. And like you say, the other thing it does, if you have a good quality protein at every meal, and that could be vegan sources, always go for good ones, don't go for massive ingredient ones.
Prepackaged stuff, not good.
Yeah. But the thing is, protein helps with what we call satiety, so keeping you feeling full for longer. So a well-balanced plate will keep you feeling full for longer, so you don't have those, I'm really hungry again. But because it's so important in that growth and repair of muscles, it means that your body's getting the fuel it needs to really keep those muscles, to keep your whole system in good order. And if you're going to be doing resistance training, you've got to be looking at an appropriate way of eating to support the growth and the condition of muscles. So it's it comes back to like a healthy, balanced life, doesn't it? Shocker. Move more, eat better, I think, for a lot of people. And it's not, like you say, you can still go out to a restaurant, you can still have bangers and mash, but choose better quality bangers. Make the mash yourself. Add vegetables.
Lots of vegetables on the plate. I think that's key.
Yeah.
Half your plate should actually be vegetables, which is really shocking for a lot of people, because a lot of people might put like a couple tablespoons of peas on there or something and be like, have my vegetable count for today.
But it like I say, the better kind of, what's the word, quality, the better health your body is in physically, the more you will get in tune with it, the more you'll hear what your body's telling you it needs. And sometimes it might need 5 or 6 minstrels. It just might. But other times it might, it's like if I've had a bad week, or I don't mean bad, but if I've been away or I've been stuck in hotels and I'm limited to what I can choose and things, I will start craving things like lettuce and vegetables. I will absolutely crave them. And it's my body saying, no, we need this. We need this. We need to get that hydration back. We need to get the fibre back. We need to get our energy levels back, and protein as well. But I'll be looking at pure protein rather than something like a bolognese or something. It'll be, no, I really need those prawns, or I need that fish. And I know that, when I'm training, my body will sort of say, God, I need this, give me that. So I do. I think you do start to listen to your body a lot better, don't you? When
it's amazing.
When
like with clients and things, they sort of often talk through like how the week's gone and stuff like that, and sometimes I look further back and go, do you know what, I can't actually remember I can't believe that I used to eat how I used to eat. I can't actually imagine. I've been doing this now for a month or two, and I can't imagine myself going back to feeling like I did then. Very quickly your body and your brain takes on those new habits and goes, this is what I need.
That's it. And it's not an overnight. You won't do a couple of strength training sessions and change overnight. It's like anything really. It creeps up on you, and it's almost like one day you realise, gosh, I am feeling better. It's not like you don't wake up and go, oh, I'm completely different to yesterday. But something will happen.
Little thing.
You'll do something and you'll think, gosh, I'm feeling completely different. I'm feeling better. I'm looking in the mirror and smiling. And it will be little subtle things that creep up, and then something will trigger it, or somebody will say something, or you'll notice something, and you'll go, wow, this is actually really working. And this is the thing, isn't it? And to me, this is where, all you women out there and all you men who've got women in your lives, get resistance training, because it's one of the simplest ways of really improving your body composition. And from that, you start to improve your body image, your confidence, but also the way that you function every single day will improve.
Yeah.
Not just now, but your if you like, it's like a savings account for your health in the future.
It is true.
Yeah,
Definitely.
So anyone out there who's thinking, I'm still not convinced, what would be your kind of your real sales pitch to convince them that get stronger?
I think as we're getting older, like especially for women, so with our hormone changes, our metabolisms slow down. I think everyone that's kind of moving into their 40s, stroke 50s, really do notice the changes in their body, and I think we're much more concerned about health as well. I think we're winging it beforehand. Maybe we care a bit, but I think once you get into your 40s and you're noticing that your body isn't bouncing back quite the same with, abusing it, you think, right, okay, I think I do need to get on top of, I'm just sort of eating too much sugar and things like that. And with the resistance training, it is a preventative along with your nutrition of diabetes too. I was a health and wellbeing coach for a bit, doing that NHS prevention scheme, which I think is amazing. To prevent something with lifestyle changes, things that you can actually take action with yourself. And I think that's the thing of empowering women enough to take action on actually their health and their well-being. Like, it comes as a whole package, and we can't just be going to the doctors anymore. We need to actually understand what we need to be doing, in order to live for another 50 years or so, happily without struggling.
Exactly. And, for a lot of people retiring, they could have another 20, 30 years of life, and you want to be living it to the fullest. And it's, we're not saying, I wish we could, but we're not. We're not saying start strength training in your 50s and you'll have the body of a 20-year-old. But what we're saying is, whenever you start training, you'll have a really good body for the age you are. And that's the key, is the improvement in, body composition, definition, but also the way your body moves and functions. And for me, when my body is moving and functioning well, I look at it differently. I look at it much more positively. I don't look at it and think, there's a bit there and there's a bit of my love handles. I look at my body and think, wow, how amazing that for me, in my 60s, my body is moving and functioning so well that I don't need to go to the doctor. I can still do everything. I can hike up a mountain. I can walk my 10,000 steps a day. And I look at my body much more positively, not because of the way it looks, but because of the way it functions. And I think for me, that's a huge shift, isn't it, that you gain from...
I just popped into my head, one of my clients is actually 70, and she looks absolutely amazing. She's so gorgeous. And she came to me a few years before that. Actually, was it? Well, roughly about 68. And she's really into the science of it all. And so she had a health test done, where they check your, they check your cholesterol, your body fat, your BMI, all those sort of things, those health checks. And then she had one done a sort of year later, and she had really high cholesterol, like worryingly high. Her weight, she was overweight, just not eating well, all those things. And then within a year, her cholesterol had totally normalized, which I think is amazing. And actually the results came back saying that she'd decreased her body age by 20 years. So in actual fact, even though her physical age was 70, her age was 70, she had decreased everything so that her body was kind of feeling like it was 50. So if that's not something to give, 20-minute workouts a go, then I don't know what it would be.
It's this is the thing, isn't it? If that can happen when you're in your late 60s and 70s, then just, it can happen in your early 60s, in your 50s, in your 40s. You can always improve kind of what they say, your metabolic age, or your metabolic age of your body. So, it's never too early to start, and it's never too late to start either. And I think that's one of the key things I want to get across to people, particularly women, when it comes to strength training. You are never too young for strength training, and you are never too old. You can start at any age and you will get benefits. But the earlier you start, not just, not just getting the benefits, but the longer the benefits will keep going, as long as you do.
Oh, well, my daughter's 12, and actually I think they're a bit more aware of it these days. So she does workouts with kettlebells and things at home, and they do include the strength training at school. So I think it is becoming something that the younger lot are going to be including much more and have that awareness. It's us kind of 40s and over that need to sort of start giving it a go, I think.
We need, as I say, we need to stop resisting resistance training, because actually it's a huge part of staying physically young, even if we can't say chronologically young. It's a huge part of it. So Heather, thank you so much for coming to talk to us today. And if people want to find you, they can find you on Facebook, heather.lock.96, Heather Lock Online on Instagram. I'll put all the links everywhere, but if people do want to find you, then just mention you heard the podcast and have a chat with Heather, because she knows her stuff, and we're all about leading happier, healthier lives at whatever age you are, and that includes getting stronger. So Heather, thank you so much for coming in.
Absolute pleasure. I really appreciate being given the opportunity. It's great.
Thank you. So you've been listening to Creating Active Lives, Stop Resisting Resistance Training Women, with me, Sarah Bolitho, and my guest this week, Heather Lock. Thank you for listening, and we will see you soon. Thank you for listening to Creating Active Lives with me, Sarah Bolitho, and my guest. Join me each week for more on how to create and sustain everyday activity, and follow me online at Fitness Career Mentor or Fabulous if you're interested in career development and more on creating active lifestyles.